It's a good feeling to walk onto your site on a Tuesday morning and seeing a new crew making significant progress. You see the truck unloaded, you hear the music going, you see material moving, and the courtyard actually starting to transform. It's encouraging to see that kind of production early in the week. Today, I am showing you the first 10 feet rule. This is a coordination system that solves rework at the source. If you can learn to catch a mistake in the first hour of an install, you can protect your project margin and your mental clarity for when you leave the site for the day. I remember one project in particular where a sheet metal sub had traveled from Los Angeles to get up here to our project in the Bay Area. They were motivated to get their work done and get home for their long weekend. By noon, they had wrapped the entire perimeter of a courtyard and foil-faced underlayment. For the office, it looked like a win for the schedule. It looked like efficiency. Then the superintendent pulled me aside and explained that they installed the underlayment completely wrong. The issue was that they did not have a qualified supervisor on site. They were not working off drawings or the shop drawing details, and they had not confirmed their installation plan with anyone on site from the project team. Every single foot of that work had to be removed and trashed. That is a costly setback. You are not just losing a day of production, you are managing a discouraged crew, and you are risking the exterior precast panel installation that's coming up in the next few days. This flashing was designed to sit under and behind the precast panel to manage water. If it's not installed and inspected before the precast panels go up, you're losing your chance to fix it without deconstructing the area later. Once the precast is set, that flashing is inaccessible. When you factor in the labor and the wasted materials, that afternoon was expensive breakdown in coordination. It was a failure of the start. As a project manager, your desk is often overflowing. You are deep in material procurement, buyout, and processing change orders. These are high-pressure tasks that require your full attention, and it's easy to get caught up in those priorities because they are a vital part of your job. It is also easy to assume that the sub is competent and will install per the drawings and the details, and will confirm their plan with the project site team before they start. But hope is not a management strategy. If you are not there for the first 10 feet, you are taking an unnecessary risk on your schedule. On that project with the sheet metal sub, I was so busy on other responsibilities that I did not get to checking in with them soon enough. I stayed focused on my office tasks, and by the time I walked out to site, the damage was already done. Nobody likes removing work that they just put in, especially when they are far from home and living in a hotel for the week. Because we had the exterior precast panel install scheduled within the next few days, we were putting the entire building on the edge of a delay. I realized that I should have been right there for the first 10 feet of their work. I should have traded 30 minutes of procurement time for 3 hours of field oversight. I am curious. Comment below with one of the trades you find hardest to manage. Is it waterproofing, MEPs, or windows? I'm curious where you've missed an opportunity to check the first 10 feet of work in place. To stop this, you should use a first work in place system. I used this recently on a window wall install. The install was happening late in the schedule due to procurement issues, and we could not afford a single mistake. The tolerances were tight, and the owner was watching closely. Here is exactly how you execute the first 10 feet rule without sounding like a micromanager. Step 1, the document check. The moment the sub pulls onto site, verify that they have the project drawings and their approved shop drawings. Ask them to explain their typical sill detail, and ask them to explain to you the tolerances for the joints. If they can't explain to you how they plan to meet the design requirements, then they probably shouldn't start. You are being a professional establishing the standard. Step 2, the 10-foot pause. When they start install, let them do a 10 to 15-foot section. Then you should pause the work. The concept here is about alignment. You are not there to criticize. You are there to make sure the office and the field are seeing the same thing before they get too far. Frame it as a way to ensure that their work is accepted and that they are going to get paid for it later. This ensures that everyone is on the same page. Step 3, the blue tape walk. I flagged everything on that window wall project. Layout issues, alignments, joint sizing. I took photos and created a detailed list right there with the foreman. We did not leave it to a verbal agreement. We documented the plan in writing immediately after the walk, so there was a clear reference of the expectations. I made sure that we all had a clear understanding of the expectations before they continued to install the rest of the work. Step 4, the benchmark. Once that first 10 feet is corrected, that becomes the standard for the rest of the project. You agree that if the rest of the building looks like this first piece, then the work will meet the requirements. You shift from a defensive position to a leadership position. It saved us from weeks of rework on that window wall system and allowed the crew to move forward with confidence. Why go through all this extra effort in one day? Because rework is a thief. It steals your time and it steals your profit. But more importantly, it steals your ability to be present when you leave. There is a weight to the project that is slipping away from you. If I am fighting with a subcontractor about a wasted day, that tension doesn't just disappear when I leave the job site. It makes me tense. It makes it hard to relax. I find myself replaying the installation sequence in my head, or staring at my phone waiting for an email. I am physically with my family, but in my head, I am still at the courtyard dealing with flashing issues. I am distracted, and I am not giving them my best. We have a responsibility to manage the details up front. There's a description in the book of Nehemiah where the builders worked with one hand on the wall and the other holding a weapon. They were making progress, but they were always guarding against a threat. In our world, that threat is rework. When you manage the first 10 feet with focus, you are guarding against a lack of clarity in the field. You are building with one hand and protecting with the other. You are ensuring that when you walk through your front door, you are not carrying the stress of the project with you. You are protecting your mental capacity for the people who matter to you most. If you have a new trade starting this week, I want to challenge you to be there for the first 10 feet. Do not wait until the end of the day to see how they did. It is the highest leverage 30 minutes you'll spend all week. If you struggle with late-night phone calls from subs about field errors, you probably need to look at how you manage your availability. I did a video on that system. When you combine the first 10 feet rule with the availability system, you change from being reactive to being a leader. You stop being the person who reacts to problems and start being the person who prevents them. Stay prepared, build with integrity, and I will see you on the next one.